Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And this video right now, like the previous ones before, where I'm just going to be touching on the elements that we went over about personal growth, social growth, and money management. I'm just going to dabble a little bit on money management. We're not going to go too deep into it right now, as we're just starting the channel, and we are going to have a lot of future videos that are going to dive more deeper into all of these subjects. But for right now, when it comes to money management, we're just going to dive into a little brief understanding of that, what it means to even, what does money management even mean? Everybody probably just throws around those words and what it means, but no one actually even sometimes gets on the basic levels and what our goal is in this, in this segment of it. I won't say inside this particular video because we're just going to breeze over it, but when we get back to it later on and come back to this segment in full, our goal is to teach you about managing money in terms of from the basic levels all the way up to the more advanced levels. Now, I'm not going to say that I am a master of knowing all the things in terms of the highest levels of money management, but this is just to get you started. Obviously, as the channel implies, universal guru, I know a little bit about almost everything. So the idea is to kind of give you that little bit so that way, you can get started and from there branch off into other things. But pretty much the basics or the lowest level of money management obviously is saving. But the problem nowadays is that no one's really taught how to save. No one's always ever really taught why to save. And that's a big question that a lot of people never really understand or even fully get into, because one conversation I had with a friend one time is they're working 9 to 5. They didn't like that kind of setup, but they're like, I don't want to get into this because I see all the rest of the people at this job and they look kind of like, I don't want to say like zombies, but it was like, there's no end goal in sight. The world tells you, you got to retire at 65. You're starting off a job at maybe your young 20s and you're like, really? I got to wait that long to see the fruits of anything. And by that time I'm old and I'm not feeling like whatever, like that's a long time, 40 something years to say, that's when you get to start enjoying your life. Well, I sat down with this friend and told them, well, no, you don't have to go by what they tell you. You can set a goal for yourself and you could retire anytime you want, but you just have to set a goal and make that happen. And when I said that, it opened up their eyes incredibly to say, wow, I didn't really realize that, because you get so caught up in the system telling you, this is the way you do it. Get a job at like young 20s, work all the way to you're like 65. Now you can retire. You're just able to get a home. You're just able to, all the kind of typical jargon that's told to you. But you don't have to live inside that box. You can change the way that you want your future to be. And all that starts with money management. So first comes saving. And like I said, understanding why you're saving. You want to know that you're saving so you can have freedom. Financial freedom is what they call it, in terms of having to deal with responsibilities and this and that. If you have a certain amount of money, you don't have to deal with that. It's not just about saving though. That's just the beginning part of it. So the first part is starting off a budget, figuring out what you spend, what you need to be spending, what you don't need to be spending, what's fun. You set aside a fun budget, you set aside a pay yourself budget or savings budget. And then you set aside obviously a problems or bill budget. So you got you got a budget for paying yourself for saving, you got a fund budget, you got a bills budget or problems budget within there as well in terms of the bills budget. Because I like to always say you got to have money for that rainy day, because there's always going to be a day where your car breaks down or something of that sort. You don't ever want to be going, oh man, well, because of that I got to dip into my savings. No, it's better to have a budget for that problems. And then if you don't spend the problem budget that month, guess what? Now it can move over to your savings. After that, you go into finding out, well, what can you do with that savings? Now you got to start managing that money. And that's where later on, we're going to go into things like ways and avenues to invest it. There's a lot of financial companies in which you can put away your money similar to a 401k that you can do on your own. You don't need to go through a job. A lot of people think it has to go through a job, but the truth is, one thing they don't like to teach you in society is that you can start doing this on your own, especially now with modern technology, on your computer, on your phone. You sign up for a investment account through one of these companies, and we'll get more into that later on, one of these financial companies, and you could start putting away money from the day you're a teenager. Even in your young 20s, you get your first serious job, maybe 22 to 25 years old, you get your first serious job, you start putting away money. You want to start dumping money into that stuff heavy. And the truth is, what a lot of people don't realize is that maybe about 20 years from that time and you dump it heavy money in, you could have like $1 million or a couple $1,000,000. A lot of people don't say that to you. They want to keep that hidden from you so you don't realize you can attain financial freedom at a very young age. And that should be everyone's goal. And that's what we're going to try to hit on here. Along with, we're going to dive into things like real estate, which is not actually that hard to get into. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a master in terms of telling you how to acquire 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 properties and all of a sudden you're going crazy out there inside the world. But I can give you the information and the building blocks to get started on your first property and how it's not as hard as you think. We're going to crunch some numbers, do the actual math in terms of what you would be paying for the market at the moment, what you're trying to aim for, how much you got to put aside, how much you got to save for a year to get ready for your down payment, all those kind of things. Because sometimes people think you got to put a large down payment. And the truth is, a lot of times, and this might depend on your state, I'm not really too sure how the rules work on that, but you don't usually have to put down a lot of money. Sometimes you're putting down 3% of what the total price is for the house that you're buying. And in that case too, you also want to aim for, we're going to get into this later on in a future video, you want your property to be for the purpose of making money, which means it's an investment property. You do not want to buy a non-investment property, a leisure property, or a single family home, something that's just for you to enjoy until you are ready to retire. Keep that in mind, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, you want to live this life, you want to keep up with whoever's, and you want to have this nice single family home with like 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and a big backyard. You don't need that. You don't need that right now, because all it's going to be is a debt that's going to get inside your way. You want to have an investment property. You want to have, depending on where you live, some single family homes can be an investment property where you collect rent on it and it will pay for itself. But in some states, like big cities, like New York City, I don't know, maybe certain parts of probably like Chicago, LA, and all these other big cities, sometimes single family homes cannot give you a profit because the taxes are too high. So you need a multifamily house. And there's an equation that breaks down for that too, that I will get into for some big cities, the equation of having a multifamily house. How many units do you need per how much you spend to acquire a certain level of profit, or even if you're breaking even, which still breaks down to a profit. I'll break that down later on as well. And getting you started into that, so you could see that would be your way of going about acquiring property and letting that be an investment and letting that grow. So like I said, this is stuff we'll tackle deeper at a later time. But for now, enjoy the information I've been giving you. I hope that it helps. I hope it gets you excited for the channel, and we will return later to give you a full breakdown on all these things: personal growth, social growth, money management. In the meantime, like I said, if you have any questions, post it in the comment section. Just keep living your life, stay focused, and we'll talk again later. All right, guys, later.